What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and there's been an absolute bombshell dropped in the continued digging that's going on into the past and present of conservative alpha male Giga Chad, Jack Murphy. And this one perhaps is the most bizarre and most damaging if it's true. There's been several new articles that have come out. I will continue to ask, if, that we keep the comments here on the videos and not, I think that he has enough going on in his life. So I would appreciate, everyone just keep the roasting here in the comments, please. So the article, not looking good. And then also some terrible stuff unearthed by Crab Crawler 1. Always worth following on Twitter. It's like premium digging and investigation. So give him a follow. I'm gonna get into all of this after a quick word from this video's sponsor, Meta PCs. Huge shout out to this video's sponsor, Meta PCs. Now I know you're not gonna run out and quick buy a brand new computer just because I ran this ad, but what I would hope is that you'll keep Meta PCs in mind for a variety of reasons and use my promo code TheQuartering to save big at checkout. Look, Meta PCs offers custom configurations. It has insane parts availability. They're one of the few people I see out there with the brand new NVIDIA 3090 in stock and shipping. When you buy from them, they offer you build photos as they work along. When you receive your PC, it's ready to go out of the box. It's 100% US-based sales and support. And one of my favorite things, it's a veteran-owned business. Meta PCs is veteran-owned. One of Meta's owners has served in Afghanistan and Iraq and received a Purple Heart for his service. Meta also employs military veterans in the Meta Operations Center and also provides systems to veterans going back to school to help them re-enter the workforce all across the United States. Meta PCs also offers financing. Head on over to MetaPC at metapcs.com. Use code TheQuartering at checkout to save money and support my content. If nothing else, go configure a PC, build a little wish list, and when you're ready, remember to use code TheQuartering at checkout at MetaPCs. I know I'll be getting myself a brand new one before the... Hey, maybe you're not in the market right now, but write down my promo code and save some money when you are ready. I didn't get my chance to buy a new tower yet. I was going to buy it in December, but I didn't have enough money saved up. So hopefully I'll have a new one soon. Here's a new article via the Daily Beast called Conservatives Flying Freak Flags Embrace, quote, being the villain. Not that long ago, the conservative movement I've been part of for decades was square, wonky, straight-laced to a fault. Now it's weird and warped. Now, of course, understand this is from the garbage website, the Daily Beast. He writes here, first, the article talks about trying to link Jack to that guy that did that stupid stuff in Denver. I don't think that that's fair. Just because he joined his forum or his membership, that doesn't mean, anything like that. But they do write, one name that stood out to me was Jack Murphy in the manosphere, who used to go by the name John Goldman. He was briefly in the news a few years ago after he was fired for writing some crazy misogynistic stuff like feminists need the R word. Murphy believes he'd been canceled, but has spent the past year as a Lincoln Fellow at the Claremont Institute. Claremont used to be a highly respectful, conservative, intellectual institution, but now it's Flight 93 all the time and worse. I don't really know what that means. In addition to holding this once prestigious fellowship, this trad Chad also runs a $99 a month private men-only community called the Liminal Order, whose members supposedly teach each other how to be stronger, richer, and more masculine. It offers dubious advice like, quote, the world always needs a villain, and today that villain is the white, straight male who knows what he wants and is unafraid to get it. But the villain, be the villain, embrace it. Embrace it he has, while he isn't responsible. Oh, thankfully, they actually wrote that for the things that idiot did in Denver. Salacious revelations about his life resurfaced in the aftermath after the events, including something he wrote in 2015 about sharing his young, hot girlfriend with a stranger from Tinder. Just before Christmas, Sydney Watson asked him about it. It didn't go well. He cursed her out and attempted to intimidate her for bringing up the incident. That's one thing I've talked about. I think in that moment, you saw what Jack Murphy really thought about women. I think the outburst that he had shows that he has no respect for women. And the stories that he writes and the things that he does with the women whom he says he loves also, in my opinion, show that he has no respect for women. You don't scream in a woman's face and curse her out if you view her as an equal. He certainly didn't have anything to say to Elijah. So I think in that moment, you know, part of being masculine, by the way, is not only accepting your past faults and accepting them and moving past them, but also it's about respecting others. And while it isn't fair to say that you should respect women more than men, I do think that it's particularly of the beta variety if you think you can scream and yell at a woman. It's just, you know, it's a double standard, but it's just the way I believe. It's what I believe. It's interesting and ironic that the same types of macho alpha males who call other people cucks keep turning out to be literal cucks. He also apparently took part in a low-budget, spicy film, according to conservative writer Rod Dreher. The film includes, I'm not even going to talk about it, it's terrible. I also cannot unread it. And the article goes on to talk about, you know, of course, Donald Trump and all this kind of stuff. Here it writes, quote, all the institutions that gave us meaning and information fell. They have been infiltrated, corrupted, and demoralized. Murphy rants while selling his $99 a month liminal order as a network to replace those fallen institutions, since without such a network, you are alone in enemy territory. A conservative railing against institutions, all of them, makes as much sense as an alpha Chad cuck, but here we are. Now, I also want to take this opportunity. I've talked to dozens of past and present liminal order people, and they all seem like good dudes to me. And I don't think, like, look, you know, and many of them told me, like, hey, what goes on in the group, you know, Jack doesn't really have anything to do with anymore. Some of them have decided that, you know, they're going to go off and do their own thing. Some of them have decided that they can't pay $100 a month, you know, and be associated with this. But I don't think it's fair to dunk on the members of that group. They're just trying to better themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. This says, because conservatism now sees itself as under siege, there are a few standards for joining the cause, blah, blah, blah. So we had this conservative guy from the Daily Beast, which probably isn't very conservative. Then this absolute bombshell from Crabcrawler. Now, this is claims, allegations. They should be treated as such. Now, right, so I don't know how to start it off other than saying claims in this post about Jack Murphy seem to check out. This is a post about, you know, according to the book by Barbara Smith entitled A Charter School's Principal Story, Goldman is named specifically as having duped the system to effectively collect 2 salaries, and goes on to prove it. Well, what Crabcrawler did is buy the book. The claims against Jack amount to a plot of the 2019 movie Bad Education. People cheat the school system's funding to enrich themselves by basically hiring their own people. The claims against Jack Murphy indicate this scheme. Given what I'm going to talk about, I see no reason for anyone in the political scene to trust Jack Murphy, parentheses John Goldman, ever again. And all I'll need to do is quote passages from the book to make my point. That's the weirdest part about it. In a previous life, Jack Murphy, John Goldman, made over $1 million cheating the DC charter school system, allegedly. This is from the Washington City paper. If we could zoom in, it says, even in the education circles, most people have never heard of 10 Square, a national for-profit consulting firm that currently operates in 7 states and the District of Columbia. The board chair who offered Smith her buyout, John Goldman, had pre-existing relationship with 10 Square. In 2012, 10 Square recruited Goldman to serve as executive director of IDEA Public Charter School. He'd also been working in leadership positions at WEDJ starting in 2009. Form 990 tax documents show that between 2011 and 2016, WEDJ and IDEA collectively paid John Goldman more than $1.1 million for jobs ranging from chief financial officer to school improvement leader to board chair. During the same time span, the two charters paid 10 Square more than $2.4 million in consulting fees. Yikes. Yikes. In 2012, 10 Square recruited Goldman to serve as executive director of IDEA Public Charter School between 2011 and 2016. WDJ and IDEA collectively paid Goldman more than $1.1 million. The underlying grift, this is his words, behind Jack Murphy's employer, 10 Square, was working as a DC charter school consulting firm that promised to make schools better while in reality making them much worse off. In essence, the claims against Jack Murphy put him in the scheme to bilk the DC area's money through 10 Square. DC has paid 10 Square millions of dollars in taxpayer funds since 2012, according to Freedom of Information Acts. These disclosures revealed contracts between local charters and the consulting company. Youth Build signed a one-year contract for $735,000, followed up by an additional 5-year, quote, school improvement contract for millions of dollars. This says, for the record, I have checked to make sure that it is the same John Goldman that now goes under the identity of Jack Murphy, which he did and confirmed it. This says, even in the free previews for a charter school principal story, whistleblower Barbara Smith outlines Jack Murphy's schemes. Goldman sent me a copy of the 10 Square audit. While I was shocked at the contents of the report, which in my opinion bordered on slander, I now had a better idea of the discussion behind closed doors at the board retreat where Jerry Epstein had resigned. To put it in normie terms, Jack Murphy was involved in a situation where 10 Square cheated to make it seem like school systems were in trouble and needed rescuing, according to the book. But the thing is, Jack Murphy, John Goldman, is mentioned heavily in Barbara Smith's book that outlines how Murphy screwed people over. So beyond this point, I'm opening the door to what cost me $15 to access. But seriously, Barbara Smith makes Jack Murphy look like a central character in the book, so it matters. Now, these are Barbara Murphy's words. Certainly, if this money, if he was paid millions of dollars falsely, I'm assuming the school would have sued him. I haven't seen any information about that happening, but you see a lot of information here. You have to go through the whole thread yourself, but you see, I inherited a mess, but he'd been very successful in making vast improvements by creating systems to ensure audits would meet integrity standards. Goldman, though, through the help of 10 Square Consulting Group, had just released many weak staff members and rehired what he considered the stronger teachers within the staff. In the interview, Mr. Goldman made it clear that WEDJ was not an employment agency. He relied on 10 Square to recruit. So this is all like very specific stuff about it. This says, this is how detailed Barbara Smith is going to get about Jack Murphy's involvement in the DC school system. So get used to this because it's how Murphy got over $1 million out of them at the end. It's interesting. Maybe, it's just another, I've worked with a lot of consultants in my day that, didn't provide what they said they were going to provide, but there's some interesting stuff in this book. You see, Jack Murphy was allowed to handle the school's entire budget. This is a Red Alert post. The money quote is Jack Murphy made school systems seemingly worse in the long run for short-term personal gains. This is according to the book. The second half of Barbara Smith's book details how Jack Murphy was unethical and screwed people over. Goldman disagreed with me publicly and indicated his goal was to, quote, win. In the end, Goldman controlled the final list of goals, Jack Murphy in his element. He admitted to me that it was difficult to work with John Goldman and that it was his teachers, not 10 Square, who turned around the school. Jack Murphy is such a bully that he ousted Barbara Smith from the DC IDEA school in this way for basically seeing through his crap. Goldman never responded to the note or made any effort to clarify, explain why he was not evaluating my complete performance. This is a pretty scathing book. And interesting stuff. I believe that this would probably, point to, there's certainly a lot more to him being terminated than cancel culture. I know there are several lawsuits in his past. I don't know about them specifically. That's probably for legal YouTubers to look at. But this is quite the bombshell. This is probably a book worth reading. Again, it's just her opinions, but certainly not a good look for Alpha Mega Chad Jack Murphy. Hope you enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you again real soon.